My humble respect to Guru Mahan, Guru Piran Sivasankaran, Guru Piran Nyo, fellow Jnanis. Today I'm continuing Mahan's first principle on the I, and I will continue some very important question and answer between disciple and Mahan. And the last time I also did a fair bit of what this I principle is and also some key questions. So, and I found that some of these questions and the answers that Swamiji gives are very, very illuminating and very penetrating. So let's start. So, so one of the questions that was asked by a disciple is that in the context of this small I and the big I, is that the disciple asks, so Swamiji, you spoke about the small I, big I, many concepts of, soul and love and, the whole range of, wisdom, knowledge. Can you tell us what is the difference between the soul, love, grace, and knowledge? So, and it's quite interesting. This is quite a common way that great saints and sages, teach, is that they use metaphors, right, and examples, because sometimes the concept can be quite abstract, and so they try to give examples of the relationship between things. So here, Swamiji speaks about this soul is somewhat like a fruit, and this fruit, of course, the moment we classify as a fruit, it has nourishment. It has, it is good for the body. So here he classifies the soul is like a fruit. It's a source of nourishment. So like how the fruit gives us, vitamins and gives us nutrition for the body. He says soul is somewhat like the fruit. It nourishes our life. Without the nutrients from the fruit, one would not get the important nutrients for living. And you see that some of the fruits are very important, vitamin C and a whole range of vitamins that is very important for the body. So in that same way, he says that the soul is what nourishes our mind, our intellect, our entire life. He says that, and the beautiful thing is that some fruits, the fruit, when it's still very young, it would not give a smell, right? So it's still very young. The moment the fruit is very ripe, very interesting that, somehow birds will come, you see all kinds of, creatures will come. And sometimes we ourselves, when the fruit is very ripe, it gives a color, golden color. But more importantly, it gives a smell that it is ready for harvesting. It's ready for eating. So in that same way, he says that, when the mind, is absorbed in that soul force, or when the mind becomes one with the soul, you see that the mind and it's, enlightened is similar to a fruit that is ripened. It's ready for eating. In that same way, he says that, you know, love is like the smell. So as one's mind, is taken like a fruit, or, like the soul force, the mind converges with the soul force. And when the mind matures, and the mind becomes enlightened, you see that, the love it permeates is immense. Like how the smell travels miles and miles, you see that the love here I'm talking about is the unconditional love. A ripe mind, an enlightened mind, will permeate unconditional love. And this is what he's giving this description. And in that same way, he says that a mind that is inspired by the soul is, will have that grace. It's like its beauty. Grace is the agility, the flexibility, the ability to overcome everything, ability to be, fluid, and that's what the grace is, and to be able to really be agile, you know. And I like the word, here for me, grace here is that the beauty of the mind is that the mind becomes smart. The mind, what do I mean by smart? SMART. You see, it means that, it is simple, a lot of the complicated things it can simplify. It is also able to simplify things easily. So we see that part of the gracefulness is that being smart and agile. So that first S in that mind is actually being very simple, but also being able to be very silent, quiet, you see. And the M there is actually the whole notion of the moral. You have a very strong sense of morality, a sense of a principled way of life. So it is the moral part of understanding, searching for the truth. When you do that, the mind becomes more agile, the mind becomes more adaptable. That is the third door, which is A. And the R in that smart is actually becomes more resilient and more responsive, right? So the mind, which is, simple, you know, not much, fanfare or pomp and pageantry, so keeps it very simple, you know, which is very moral, agile and adaptable, becomes very responsive, and when it becomes more responsive, it also takes the responsibility. So there is always that responsiveness and no responsibility that comes with it. And the last one is that when you have that, the T is actually transformative. It is continuously evolving, continuously evolving from the small I to the big I. And that's what he mean by this grace, the ability to, be that smart mind that is flexible, agile, responsive, transformative, yet, it is simple, So this is what he means by this beauty. And the last one is essentially he speaks about how this sweetness, the winsomeness, how this fruit has this sweetness that attracts ants and attracts, birds and attracts even humans, right? So that sweetness is what he calls, the knowledge that the mind and the intellect permeates. When you have that knowledge to be able to, provide direction, provide illumination for yourself and others, you see that, people from far away, like how the sweetness, they'll be drawn to the sweetness, people will be drawn to this knowledge. In that same way, you see that, great saints and sages, they're somewhat like a fruit, they have so much nourishment, so much knowledge, and they permeate this unconditional love, and they have this grace in them, very simple life. Mahan's life was a very simple life, very moral life. He was very adaptable and agile. He was very responsive, and responsible in what he said, did. And the last one is he was very transformative. He completely changed the way, we think about God and how bringing it everything as a universal personality and the oneness. And that is the wisdom knowledge that he brings, and that sweetness that attracts people to him. And I've seen him, in 1976 and 1980, when he was there, that aura, that tejas, that glow that he had, like a ripened fruit that everybody wants to come and partake. And by partaking it, they're able to essentially get that nutrition for the mind and for the intellect, and be fully soul enriched. And this is what Mahan is speaking about. So the next question is that what kind of fruit? Of course, if you look at a fruit like mango, It's got its own characteristics and own sweetness and own beauty. Some could be like a durian, right? If you have a durian, yeah, you see that sometimes it looks very spiky, but the moment, but there's so much nutrition in that fruit, right? And it's got so much smell, and it's got its own texture and beauty. In the same way, there are many fruits. The form may be very beautiful, or the form may not be beautiful, but the fruit itself inside is very nutritious and gives nourishment. So many of us on the surface may be very different, but one has to look at the soul that is carrying that body, and that soul is what we should be focusing on, not the like how if you see the durian, we don't eat the outside part, we eat the fruit in there, and that's what gives us. The same thing with many fruits, although nowadays even the surface or the the cover, and we use it, every part of the fruits can be used. So the question I want to ask is that, have you felt the fruit in you? Have you smelt your own fruit? Do you know the beauty that you carry with you? And have you tasted that sweetness of you? This is the question that, I want to leave you with, this question that is posed. So the next question, and of course, what kind of fruit are you? Are you a durian? Or are you a mango, or a mangosteen, or, an apple? So again, one needs to take stock and say, who am I? What am I? And what are these qualities? Do I permeate these qualities? And am I of use to others? And do I carry that tejas? Do I carry that winsome personality? So again, these are questions that, should make you reflect. The next question, which is also a very important question, which is quite related to, is that the disciple asks Swamiji, which God do you worship? And Swamiji says here, I do not worship anything. He says, my duty is to respect that God which respects me. It seems like a very simple answer. But if you look very carefully deep into that question, right? He says, I do not worship anything. The word anything, the word focus on the thing. The thing is actually matter and energy. You see? So if you characterize this God as matter and energy, he says, no, that's not something that I would pay a lot of attention to, because it is part and parcel of this universe. It is also continuously changing. So, I'm also part of the matter energy form. So that's not what gives us existence. It is continuously changing. It's part of this material universe. But the next sentence is just more profound. It says, my duty is to respect the God that God which respects me. Now, what is it that in you that respects you, right? Is it your neighbor? Is it something outside you that respects you? What do we mean by respect? When something respects you, that means it cares for you, it supports you, it sustains you, it keeps you alive, it gives you existence, it gives you all the enjoyment. It also gives you challenges, but also it gives you the capacity to find solutions and find liberation and find illumination. So that's what we mean by respect. When somebody respects you, that means they care for you. They may be a little bit harsh. Like, for example, your parents, give you a lot of respect. That's why they're strict. They want you to do well. In that same way, we have respect for our parents because, for the responsibility. So here the word respect means much more deeper, right? So here somebody says that God that respects me, and that he means that which gives me existence, the understanding of existence, consciousness, everything that I am experiencing and being enlightened, by this material existence and beyond is what I have full respect for. As it sustains me, you know, I sustain it, and that is the mutual respect that we have. And this is beautifully said in some of the scriptures. He says that the day we are disconnected from this God that is inherent in us, that gives us consciousness, illumination, enlightenment, that's the day we become ignorant, right? So that's the day that we forget who we are. And Swamiji is reminding us that we always have to have respect and reverence for that which gives us consciousness, that which gives us our personality, that which is who we are. And I'm reminded by one of the Katha Upanishad, which says that one of the great saints says that I have committed sin because I've kept you waiting, right? So I have to by keeping you waiting, I have committed a sin. And in the same way, as long as the mind keeps this divinity dislodged from itself, that is the day we become unillumined. So when the mind is always, aware of this and know that this is what the source of sustenance is, and that mutual respect for this God that exists as us, you see that our own life becomes godly and divine. So this sentence has got so much meaning. He says that my duty is to respect that God that which respects me, which means that which sustains me, which gives me consciousness, which helps me animate everything, and which puts me to sleep, which wakes me up, and also will put me back to its own origin, the samadhi stage, which is the final state. So become transcendental to this material existence. So he said, that God is what I respect. That God is what I call the big I. See, so he says that is the respect that he has. So this whole grander understanding of, and this God that gives me the consciousness of universality, that God is what I respect because it's core to me. The moment you have that respect, you have full respect for yourself. You have full respect and faith in yourself. He says, if you have full faith in this God that gives you consciousness and existence, you have full respect in yourself. And this is the essence of the I God philosophy, that, we respect many things out there, but that has no meaning if we have no respect for ourselves, this God within us. The day we have full respect for this God in us that animates us, gives us consciousness, illumines our mind, illumines our intellect, we see that everything that we see is godly. Right? So this question has so much meaning. And the last question is that, is there God or not? He says. So again, a very important question, and I'll bring all the three questions together into one comprehensive. The disciple asks, is that God or not? See? So again, Swamiji says, man may answer it one way or the other. Either there is God or not God. But again, in all the answers Swamiji gives, there's so much meaning and depth. He says, if there was a separate God, think about what question he would ask you, right? He would have put this question to you. If it is truly a universal God, truly an infinite God, truly a God that is, not there for its ego, right? This God would put this question, that do you believe in my existence or not, right? So as the disciple, is there God or not? Swamiji is saying that this universal God, if was to speak to you, he'll ask, do you believe in my existence or not? Right? Now, this question should lead one, why is this Swamiji asking this question? Think about this question very deeply, right? If this universal God, and if you are in the presence of the universal God, and if you are able to listen to this universal God, and if you pose this question, this is the question that will be asked back to you. Do you believe in my existence or not? You see? And what that is that he says that the next question is that if I was universal, I am everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm infinite. There is no place I am not. The question then, the next question is that, my dear child, I am also in you. Have you not listened to me? Right? And the reason why we are not listening to this cosmic vibration is that because our attention and our mind is somewhere else. So we're looking somewhere else and asking, where is God? And here, the reply Swamiji is giving is that I've always been there with you. I'm the universal, I'm the universality that is embedded in everything, including you. So the mere fact that you're asking this question means that you have missed me, right? And I'm asking you that, I'm telling you that, do you believe that I exist? And this universality exists. And if you do believe in that, then you must believe that I am there with you. So please pay attention to within you, to search, discover, and feel that resonation. And this is what Swamiji always says, he says that focus on that inner cosmic vibration. You see? So Swamiji doesn't say that, yes, there's a God here and God there. Through this answer, he gives the answer to say that, if this God was to speak to you, and if you were listening to this universal cosmic vibration, this is the answer that will come. This is the question that will come to you. You see? And that now, once you understand this question and you see God in this universality, you would ask a question to yourself. And I've asked this question to myself. If I have this universal God in me, what else do I need? So the same question that I posed to Swamiji or God or whoever, and when this comes, when my mind becomes illuminated, yes, actually it makes a lot of sense that if God is infinite, he's part of me, and I've missed it because I was searching somewhere else. The moment you get that, the mind connects to that vibration, the mind then asks the next question. If God is within me and I can feel the vibration and I can feel the cosmic intelligence as I get deeper and deeper, and I can feel that I am not separate from God and everything I see is godly, and everything I do, I think, is godly and divine, then the natural question I will ask myself is, if I have God in me and God resonating in me, do I need anything else? Do I need a grace of anything else? The answer you will answer to, no. You would not stand in front of God and ask anything anymore because you have everything. And this is the point that Swamiji was trying to make in this question, that, one needs to be attuned to that universal God that is embedded in all of us. And this is what the convergence of that big I to the big I is. So I hope all of you all in your meditation, try to get your mind to be one with yourself. And this is what that meditation, introspection, contemplation, reflection, and the meditation is about. So let me come back to unifying these three questions. So we started off with these questions of the difference between soul, love, grace, and what Swamiji in these three questions explains is that this universal God that is embedded in our soul is like a fruit. And what would you feel? How would you cognize? How would you know that God exists in you? You would get that nourishment as you become more and more, you discover yourself. You'll see that your mind will be like a fruit that is full of nourishment, that you see that you'd have a lot of knowledge to be able to navigate through this life. You'd see that, you yourself will be able to smell that awesome unconditional love. You'll feel it and experience it, and your mind will have that smartness, that grace, agility to navigate through, and you continuously, revel in that wisdom, knowledge. And that knowledge leads you to this whole understanding that, hey, this divinity is in me. The greatest worship starts with me. When I understand what this worship is and this pilgrimage is, when I make this pilgrimage within me and discover this, everywhere becomes a place of pilgrimage. Everywhere I see God. And this leads you to the final question, that you see that when your mind is inoculated and vaccinated by this divinity, the whole idea, you then realize that this universality, the universal God is core to your being. And when the universal God is core to your being, you see that, you don't need anything else. You don't see the separation. You don't ask whether you exist or not. That existence itself is that divinity that leads you to a much more universal life. You see divinity in every aspect of your life, and you see that every aspirations, every desires are divinized. You're able to, you know your mind becomes powerful, yet agile, flexible, to be able to navigate through everything and be enlightened and illumined. And this is what these three questions Swamiji is showing, that this mind, when it takes this, understands these three questions, the mind becomes what he calls the universal peace sanctuary. The universal peace sanctuary is not the bricks and the mortars. It is actually a mind that understands it is a manifestation of this universal personality called God. Thank you very much, Sandosham.